Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, and welcome once again to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. So, I am continuing to feel 100%. I feel a heck of a lot better. As you know, I just got over having COVID, lasted almost 2 full weeks, and now I'm back to normal again. So, I'm feeling more hopeful, and I'm feeling like I want to get back into focusing on what is most important to me, which is bringing this energy of the lightning center of the heart back into influencing and helping the world to evolve to the next level. So I want to talk to you about what we call the mirror. So the mirror is it's a veil between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. Now, there's a lot of people listening to me who believe that they've experienced that mirror realm. They believe that they've moved past the veil and have gone into the spiritual realm. But I'm here to tell you, in my opinion, I can't say if it's the majority or if it's a large portion. I really can't say, but I will say that there's a lot of people who have experienced something that they believe to be the spiritual realm, which is really nothing more than their own unconscious. So bear in mind that the unconscious mind in the human being is another spiritual realm all of its own. You can experience all kinds of entities and dimensions, and make no mistake that the power of the unconscious mind does have the ability to create and manifest in this physical world. So, in fact, many people who are psychics, who are magicians, who have spiritual power, they're really getting their power from the unconscious realm. They're really not experiencing the other side. But there is another side to this existence, and we, as long as we are in our conscious mind, we're walking around in physical reality, we are on one side of the mirror. We are on the yang, or the masculine side of the mirror. There's another side of the mirror, which is the yin, or the spiritual. And there are practices to bring these two realms together. And the Maoshan is one of those practices. And the Maoshan masters seemingly had this ability to manipulate space and time. But what was really going on was that they had the ability to go back and forth between the mirror. Now, this is also something that was viewed as black magic, because the yin side is actually the left side, the left-hand path, the truly ultimately feminine path of reality, the dark side, if you will. And it is the complement to the light side, which is conscious reality. And for people who had the ability to be in both realms at once, they could do things like disappear and appear. They could do all kinds of crazy things from our perspective. But from their perspective, it was just they were able to go back and forth between the veil, between the physical and the non-physical. There are ways for us to get to this other realm through shamanic practices. People who learn how to master the dream state. If it truly is the dream state, they can go into this other realm and come back. But it's a whole other thing to be in conscious awareness, to be physically walking around awake in conscious awareness, and be able to have access to both of these realms. I certainly can't say that I know every single spiritual practice out there. I have looked into, from my perspective, quite a few. And I have never, in all of my other practices, I've never experienced anything that comes even close to the level of power and the level of spiritual, the ability to go to other spiritual realms. I've never experienced anything that even comes close to what this Maoshan practice has given me. So let me be clear about that. The Celestial Qigong, which has been my most popular video, it's so old that I first started selling it on DVDs, and you had to buy the DVD. And then I made it into a streaming practice, which you can, if you go to, in case you're not familiar with it, you can go to Celestial, I think you can go here, we'll try this out together, celestialqigong.com. I'm pretty sure that that will take you directly where you want to go. Let me just double check here. Celestialqigong.com. Let's see if have I created a website based, yes, so that'll take you right there if you want to do it. That is my most popular teaching that I have created, and that's, it's got to be 12 years old by now. And I created that as a way to reverse engineer the Maoshan, this stuff that you see here. Now, before we get any further, I can see that people are coming on and dropping comments. So before we go any further, in case you don't know how I like to do things on my channel, this is a question and answer. This isn't a free-for-all. If you have a question, what I'd like for you to do is wait until you've listened to at least some of the lecture, and then write the word question in all caps. Not the whole question, just the word question in all caps, and then you can write your question. The reason I do that is because I'm going to scroll through everything that I don't think is a question. If you want me to see your question, write that. If you just have an opinion and you're going to dump your opinion and you think this is a free-for-all, I'm very likely either just going to bypass what you say, or I might even, look at what you say and expose it in a way that won't make you comfortable. So the best thing to do on my channel is to ask an honest question about the material that I'm talking about. Okay? So just to be clear about that. All right, so I just uploaded to the thunderwizard.com, specifically the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. I just uploaded a video explaining the two most powerful practices that I was taught in this physical energetic practice. And let me be clear about that. So over here you see me doing one, I'm doing bits and pieces of one of the 5 elements, which is the earth element. And what happens, these practices are more than just Tai Chi or yoga or standing postures or Qigong. These practices, as simple as they look, what they're doing is you're actually messing with the structure of the energetic universe. You're actually, by doing the practice, you're starting to create what's the word I want to use? You're starting to sort of disentangle the veil between the physical and the spiritual. And if you do these practices enough, this is why I've got Dr. Manhattan here underneath it. If you do these practices enough, while you're in your conscious awareness, you can experience in your own way, I won't make any guarantees, but you will experience in your own way that veil beginning to thin. And you'll start to be able to tap into both the positive and the negative, the light and the dark, the physical and the non-physical. And this is one of the reasons why this stuff was called spirit fighting. And there were ways to learn it. There were people still to this day that actually there were two schools. The Grandmaster who taught my teacher's teacher, he was given what we would call the spirit fighting aspect of it, and so he practiced it in a very particular way. There was another school which the Grandmaster, which was the teacher of my teacher's teacher's teacher, the Grandmaster, he had two disciples, and one of them was the founder of this practice that I'm teaching you here. And then there was another guy who was taught this purely from a physical perspective, and so he learned how to do these same practices, but the angles were different, and it was very muscled. It was very physical and strong, and he muscled his way through it. And so what that did is when you muscle through these things and you do the angles wrong, it ends up keeping it a physical practice. And so basically what he taught was a form of Kung Fu, which now, based on what I've seen, is that the descendants, the inheritors of that practice, are moving away from it. They still do it. It's sort of like a traditional thing that they do, but the guys who would be considered the Grand Masters of that lineage, they've dropped it and they've moved over completely into mixed martial arts. And I understand, because the way they've been taught, they have not been taught to use these practices in a way that actually starts to vibrate this reality and starts to take away. In other words, they didn't learn the spirit fighting part of it. So they have no idea the power that it has, and they never will. This is one of those things that if you're not taught correctly, your initial physical instincts will keep you on this side of the veil. Your body has instincts to keep you physically, what's the word I want to use? It wants to keep you in this physical realm. When you start to leave this physical realm, your body will respond by doing more physical things to keep you physically manifested here. It goes against our instinct to start to sort of, like Dr. Manhattan here, sort of, come apart at the seams and go into the other realm. These practices were designed to give you the ability to go in between the realms. The stuff I'm saying now, if I had said this 20 years ago, there would have been people knocking on my door telling me, you can't ever talk about this. This is not, I would have gotten a serious talking to. But these practices are designed because of the ability, even though, when I'm doing it super slow like this and I'm showing it to you, you can't tell by looking at it. But what's really happening is that from the other side of the mirror, like if a spirit, a negative spirit, especially, not the high level spirits, but a negative spirit, if I'm doing these practices and I'm doing them at full speed and doing them correctly with the right angles and releasing the energy inside, what ends up happening is that from their perspective, it looks like I'm appearing and disappearing. And it's frightening to them. Just like for us, when a spirit appears and then disappears and it's somewhere else, it's frightening to us. We actually have the same ability to go onto the other side of the mirror, and when we do these practices, a lower level spirit, a negative spirit, a ghost, a demon, from their perspective, it'll look like we're appearing and disappearing, and it will frighten them. The level of vibration of energy that these practices give frightens them. And because they're trapped on that other side. They cannot come over to our side unless we do things to invite them. Black magicians will do rituals to bring them over. We talked about this in terms of, just THC, if you, not CBD, but THC, that when you ingest high levels of THC, and you're not doing it just for medical reasons. By the way, way back when, the Taoists used to use cannabis, and they would make teas out of it. But the cannabis they had was 3% THC. And what do they have now? They've got over 20% THC. So the levels of THC that you ingest now is, almost 20 times what was originally intended when you read these old manuals of people using cannabis to fix physical things in the body. But when you ingest high levels of THC, what ends up happening is your aura gets completely sucked up your spinal column into your head. And along with your aura, you also bring in whatever other spiritual toxins there are. And if there are spirits, and you do THC, you will suck them up into your head also. So that's one of the ways. That's one of the ways that people can invite these negative entities from the other realm, from the spiritual realm, from the other side of the veil. They can invite them into your realm, and they can be destructive. So that's why these guys were called spirit fighters, because if they went into a place that was haunted or a place that was cursed, and they did their practices would create a level of vibration of energy that was very uncomfortable for low-level entities, and this is how they could get rid of them. And if they really wanted to get powerful, they would go look for a very powerful demon and physically fight them with their bare hands. Because the only way to fight a demon is to completely release all of the physical tension in your body and learn the correct angles and release the lightning energy from your heart out of your hands. That's the only way you can physically fight a demon and win. Otherwise, your fist is going through air. Your hand is going through air. And so you have to use other realms. That's why other people use rituals and prayers and mantras and things like that, because you yourself as a physical human, you don't have the ability to fight against these negative entities. So again, what was the title of the video today? Something about crossing the veil between, crossing the veil between the spiritual and physical worlds, gaining mastery over the dream world. So let's talk about that. So the dream world is the other side of the mirror. And when you dream, there is a possibility that you can go to this realm. Now, let me again be very clear. The vast majority of people, in my experience, who believe that through their dreams they have the ability to go to the other realm, they're not going to the other realm. They are only traveling inside their own unconscious mind, which in and of itself is another dimension. And in that dimension there are beings and entities, and it is a very powerful, magical place. And as I said earlier, if you master your unconscious mind, even through dreams, you can manifest and create all kinds of magical things in this reality. But being able to go there does not mean that you have access to the spiritual realm. I'll give you an example. This had to have been 30 years ago, at least. And I went to a psychic eye bookstore, and there was a psychic there. And just for fun, I went and got a reading. I don't know if she did tarot or whatever she did. But as you'll notice, a lot of psychic women are overweight. Have you ever noticed that? Maybe men too. I haven't noticed that. They have big bellies. So that is representative of the lower self. Their lower self is either they're dealing with it, or this is why people. You also notice a lot of psychics will smoke cigarettes. They do all kinds of seemingly unhealthy things. These are things that keep them trapped in their lower self. But make no mistake, the lower self is extremely powerful. And it is the lower self that first gets information from the spiritual realm. So like if you want to talk to a ghost, It's not going to be your third eye or your crown chakra that talks to a ghost. It's going to be your lower self. It's going to, and I'm pointing to my navel center. It's going to be your unconscious mind. That power, that realm that you have within you in the unconscious mind is what most psychics use when they channel, when they talk to the dead, when they get whatever their predictions are. It's coming from their lower self. It has nothing to do with their upper self or their heart. These things are usually not involved in that process. And so I went to this psychic, and I wanted to know, when was I going to meet my soulmate, right? So she says to me, she guarantees me, she says, and I'm always right. And, she went to this sales pitch about how accurate she was. And she started to describe in detail the exact fantasy woman that I had in mind. I mean, down to the hair color, the eye color, the body type, what she was into, and there's no way she could have known all those details. Nobody's that smart that they can pick up from cues. I mean, that's almost impossible. She wasn't one of these master readers that reads your facial tics and then can figure things out. So I was very impressed because there's no way she could have known that. But I didn't understand how most psychics function. And of course, every single one of her predictions never came true. She gave me a date. By this date, this will happen. But the thing that was most amazing about her was her ability to absolutely psychically go into my lower self and pick out the exact fantasy that I had. And so she had ability, but she didn't have true psychic ability to go through the veil to the other side. She had the ability of somebody that's been spending their time in their lower self, in their unconscious mind, for whatever reason. And that is how we connect. So when you meet somebody, just to give you another understanding, let's say you meet somebody and you feel this really strong personal connection. And oh my God, we're soulmates. And oh, we've known each other for many lifetimes. And I have this connection with you. It's not coming from up here or up here. It's coming from your lower self. But it feels like it's coming from, oh my God, the gods have destined us together. And how many of those relationships have you been in, and how many of those relationships have worked out? It's amazing that, when you think you found the perfect, ultimate, life partner, soulmate, and then 9 months later they're married to somebody else and have kids with somebody else. And then you're like, well, what happened? Well, it was your lower self. It wasn't coming from that true other realm of existence. So what we're doing in this, if you're following this practice, and by the way, you don't have to, if you're not subscribed to this or you're not doing this, there's plenty of free practices on the channel. If you figure out how to do that, please do. Go to my playlists on the YouTube channel, and you can find the energy practices, and you'll have no shortage of practices that you can do. There's the Hool breath, of course. Just in case if you're new to the channel and you want to see what this kind of energy is like, go just simply search for the Hool breath anywhere on YouTube. The heaven and earth. Oops, that's not how you spell heaven. The heaven and earth Qigong meditation. You can go practice that. The Thor's hammer. I'm just giving you a bunch of things that you can do for free on the channel, which will give you at least a taste of the kind of energy that we're talking about. Now, none of those practices that I just mentioned will give you the ability to thin the veil. Which isn't to say you won't have spiritual experiences, because if you do any of those practices for any length of time, you will open up all three of your centers: your lower self, your middle self, and your higher self. And those will open up and you'll be able to have a stronger connection. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, partly because, things have been so negative I've been focused ever since September. I've been focused on revealing to you what is going on the Odyssey channel. So if you want to go look at my Odyssey channel, odyssee.com, look for Thunder Wizard, or BitChute, bitchute.com, look for Thunder Wizard. I'm revealing what's really going on under the surface. Many of you already know. This isn't, some secret that only I have, but things have been so negative, and I was sick for 2 weeks with COVID, and that was really, I was feeling so depressed and so disempowered and so hopeless. I'm feeling a lot better now, and a lot of things are starting to shift. Hopefully they're shifting in a positive way, but I really want to start focusing on getting back to creating our ideal reality and focusing on following your soul, your integrity. And the greatest and most powerful tool that I have available to me, which I want to share with you, which is all of this stuff, the Maoshan and the thunderwizard.com, which is also the Maoshan University. I really want to share that with you, and I want you to have the power to completely destroy what I consider to be the closest thing to demonic rule over this world that we've ever had. What's going on in the world right now is insidious and horrible, and we need to have spirit warriors who will fight on the spiritual plane to overcome the corruption, to overcome the evil that is in this world. So this is my gift to you, these practices here. The subscription ones, the ones that you can get on the YouTube channel for free are very powerful. I would say one of the most, I'm not going to say the most, but certainly right up there among the most powerful is the Summoning the Immortals Qigong. If you practice that, I specifically gave that to you so that you would have an experience of what the real Maoshan energy starts to feel like, and the power that it brings and the transformation that it brings. One of the things that these practices are designed to do is, at the higher levels, is to shift your vibration of your cells of your body, shift that vibration up to such a level that at the highest level, I haven't achieved this, but at the highest levels, these guys could die and resurrect themselves. At the highest levels, these guys could, just simply close their eyes and go to the other realm and do all kinds of other things. Work with spirits that are coming into this realm, help people pass to the next realm. Really high level stuff. And of course, wherever these guys went, their vibration was of such a high vibration that wherever they went, evil would run out of the room. They had that kind of power. So I haven't achieved that level. I may never. I don't have that desire at this point in my life. But if you decide to do one of these practices and really put some energy into it and some commitment into it, I can guarantee you that your entire being will start to shift. Your awareness will start to shift. You will have to face, there is a price to pay. And the price that you must pay in order to get the benefit of these practices is you must face your own false delusions and delusions. Your attachments. Many of you have no idea how attached you are to destructive ways of thinking, to victim mentality. We're built that way. We're built to live in such a way where we stay really grounded in this physical reality. We are built in such a way so that we are divorced from our deepest unconscious feelings, because we can't function in basic society unless we live in to some state of denial. We're seeing this manifest in its greatest form now. I mean, the denial and the unconsciousness has risen to unprecedented levels. And I know people, I'm sure you do as well, I know people who have chosen to walk away from their own, not only their physical integrity, but their spiritual and their emotional integrity, just to be able to fit in society, be accepted by family, friends, spouses, keep a job. By the way, I think I can say this safely. The CDC just recently released some studies that, if you look at them, prove that the most valuable protection we have against COVID is natural immunity, meaning if you've been infected and you've recovered. And they found that among people who have been infected and recovered, whether or not you're vaccinated or unvaccinated turns out to be meaningless. That statistically, there's no significant difference between an unvaccinated person who's had COVID and recovered. They are just as likely to be infected and go to the hospital as a vaccinated person. In other words, you have the same level of protection against COVID if you've had COVID and recovered, whether you're unvaccinated or not. I can say that because the CDC has released that, and so YouTube can't shut me down for that, because that's not coming from me, that's coming from the CDC. So there you go. Anyway, so those are some of my random thoughts about traveling to the other realm. Again, I'm happy to take questions. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, before we get into them, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that it is already my belief that the majority of you who think you've gone to that other realm and back, I'm going to tell you that you haven't. A lot of you who think that you've accomplished something of real value because of some spiritual experience you had, I'm going to probably discount that. And it's not because I want to burst your bubble, but because the other thing that I didn't say here is that after having all of that experience and after having experienced those things, I still have come to the conclusion that the only thing that really truly matters is living in this reality with the highest level of consciousness. That everything else that you experience, if it does not serve you to be healthier, be happier, be more prosperous, have better relationships, then whatever experience you had is meaningless. Because that is the true test of your spirituality. The true test of your enlightenment is your ability to be healthy, happy, prosperous, and have constructive, healthy relationships in your life. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are, what spiritual gifts you have, what spiritual powers you have, if you're not happy, if you're not prosperous, if you're not healthy, and you don't have good relationships, then all of that power you think you have is utterly meaningless and will not serve you in this life or the next. All right. I'm happy to open it up to questions if there are any. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. So you can go to his website, which is vincent.thunderwizard.com, and he is one of my certified astrology apprentices. You can also just go to astrology.thunderwizard.com to see me or any of my other astrology apprentices. And if you want me to do what I just did to him, which is I just promoted his website, and he takes clients and makes money from people going to his website and purchasing sessions from him. If you want me to do that for you, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com, and if you pass the very simple tests that I give, I will give you a your name.thunderwizard.com, and every time you come onto a live stream and say hello, I will promote you. All right. So what else? Flux Pavilion question. So bear in mind, You just got to know that if I don't think that you've done these practices, I'm already, forgive me, but I'm already sort of, I've kind of prejudged you already. So I may come across as being impatient if I can tell that you haven't done the practices. Okay, so with your questions. So just be aware of that. Don't take it personally. Flux Pavilion question. When we channel the energy of the Hool breath into Laguj, okay, so this person is talking about, if you go, you can type in, as I've given to you, Hool breath, Huul breath, not Hulu breath, Hool breath. If you type that into just YouTube, you will see me taking you through that, and I explain to you in one of the videos. I talk about how you're bringing the energy down into the deepest pools of water in the earth, which does correspond with the Laguj rune in the runic system. So this person says, when we channel the energy of the Hool breath into Laguj, the pool in the middle of the earth, is it possible to use the Hool energy we helped store in the pool? Is it possible to use the Hool energy we helped store? I don't understand the question. But the Hool breath, one of the things that it does, you become a channel. So instead of, like, there's different ways to do Qigong. And there's a guy I know who is a Qigong master, and I didn't understand it, but years ago we would talk about what happened with the energy, and he had a completely different experience than me. And I always thought that maybe either I was doing something wrong or something like that, because I knew that he was a very effective Qigong healer. But what I've since come to learn is that traditional Qigong, which is what he practiced, is the navel center. And he said, no, what I'm doing is I am taking Qi energy and I am packing it in and storing it into my navel center. In other words, he's trying to pack as much Qi into his physical body as possible. And then when he does healing, he then takes that Qi that he has stored in his navel center and he releases it out of his hands. So he has to spend hours every day meditating and pulling energy into his navel center. And I was like, that is just not what I do at all. It's so different. I actually become nothing, and energy flows through me. I become a conduit. What I've since learned is that that's because I'm dealing with the Shin, or the heart mind. He wasn't. He was dealing with Qi, which is the lower self. So you guys can go research this. You will see in any basic Qigong practice, you will see Jing to Qi to Shen. And that means they call it sexual energy, which it is, but it's really sort of like the most physical of the biological energy is Jing. And what they do is through meditation and through celibacy. I don't practice celibacy because I don't need to. They do. People who do typical Qigong have to practice celibacy so they can transform their Jing into Qi. So Qi is in the lower self and Qi is life force energy. And then they seek through their practices to raise the level of Qi to Shen, which is spirit. We're doing something totally different. So if you're doing the Hool breath, you are not going Jing to Qi to Shen. You are going Qi to Shi to Yi. So you don't bother with trying to transform the sexual energy into Qi. You just go straight to Qi. And that is the life force energy. And the practices like Thor's hammer and the Hool breath and others will give you direct access to Qi. You don't have to go through the process of trying to transform it. So the Qi goes to Shi, which is the lightning energy that surrounds the Shen. So if you're wondering what is the difference, Jing to Qi to Shen, they're moving to the Shen, which is the soul energy. So this is a right-hand path. And what we do, including with the Hool breath, is we're doing a left-hand path, which is we're going from Qi to Shi, which is the lightning energy that surrounds the Shen, surrounds the soul. And from Shi, we go to Yi, which is the third eye, but it's specifically the intent. So the ability to intend reality. So this energy practice that I'm teaching you is a left-hand path that goes straight to the ability to manifest your reality through your intention. And you end up taking this normally dormant energy in your body, which is the lightning energy, which surrounds the Shen. The Shen is here. And surrounding the Shen is this lightning energy that stays usually self-contained and dormant. We stimulate that and release it, which is why, again, the Maoshan guys could seemingly do things that no other Taoist had the ability to do, because they were using Jing to Qi to Shen. We're using Qi to Shi to Yi. So it's a different pathway. It's in the same neighborhood, but it's technically more powerful. The difference is if you go the right-hand path, which is Qi to Shi, Qi to Jing to Qi to Shen. If you do the right-hand path, you're going to have to pay a price, and that price is going to be discipline over many years. The price that you pay for the left-hand path is that you get immediate power. The power comes instantly. But the price you have to pay is you have to go through years worth of self-examination in a much shorter period of time, which is why most people can't handle it. Which is why many people, when they do the sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I need to see where I'm pointing. When they do the 90-day challenge, you'll hear a lot of people talk about a lot of feelings coming up. Because the feelings are coming up, in other words, you're having to go through a self-transformation of letting go of your attachments and your false identity and your false ego and your false pride and your false humility. You're going to have to go through that in a much faster way. You might do it in a period of months instead of a period of years. So there's a price you have to pay, no matter which path you take, whether it's right hand or left hand. And by the way, the majority of people out there who think they know what I'm talking about when I talk about left hand path, you think you're doing some, dark black magic, Western magic, satanic. You think you know what left hand path magic is. I'm here to tell you that we're talking about two completely different things. What you think is black magic, what you think is left hand path, and what I think is left hand path are two different things. And until you've done it, you won't know what I'm talking about. Sorry for sounding so grandiose, but it's just a fact. Just to let you know. So if you want to find out, this is what this is for. Go do it. Go do the practice. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. By the way, as I said in the video that I uploaded, the way that this works, when you subscribe to anything at thunderwizard.com, even if it's at the lowest level, you're going to get charged for that month. So today is the 24th. So if you don't want to get charged for a full month, wait until the 1st. And what I've said is that if somebody subscribes to this and it's the last week, like if it's 7 days or less of the month, because you don't want to wait till the 1st and you subscribe, you're going to get charged by Patreon for whatever it is, 25 or 55 bucks or whatever it is. And then after the 1st, once you have gone and you've been charged again after the 1st, then contact me through Patreon and I will refund you for that week. In essence, I'll give you a free week. If you want to try it out for a week for free, that's how it's done. Sign up towards the end of the month. After the 1st of the month, let me know and I will refund you that previous month. Okay, so let's see what else. So again, Flux Pavilion, I'm answering your question, which I don't understand. When we channel the energy of the Hool breath into the Water in the middle of the earth, is it possible to use the Hool energy we helped store in the pool? So you're not storing the energy anywhere. You don't need to. This is again something that I can best teach in person with people who are doing the 5 element practices, because I can show you how to release massive amounts of energy through your body. But it's not because you're storing it up and then releasing it. It's that you're actually going to nothing and allowing infinity to flow through you. So you have access to infinite amounts of energy all the time. You don't have to store it up anywhere. So I'd like for you, Flux Pavilion, to get that out of your mind. That is a right-hand path technique that does not apply to what we do. You don't have to store anything. You just have to empty yourself and become nothing. And then when you become nothing, then you become, this is how Dr. Manhattan did what he did. If you ever watch that, that movie, you want to know how he did that? He completely became nothing. And that's how he got his power. It's very hard to do. The right-hand path follows the normal instinct, which is to make something out of yourself. You store a bunch of energy, then you transform that energy, and that's a very physically oriented thing that keeps people physically, which is why, this is the most popular way to do things. But the left-hand path, what we do, we go to nothing. We go completely empty. And when we are empty, and then you do the Sifu hands, or you do the Maoshan Mudra, or you do any of the things that I teach, then you're accessing infinite amounts of energy that are flowing through you. And sometimes you won't even be able to feel it. There are times that I've transferred energy to people and I didn't feel a thing, but they did. So anyway, Flux Pavilion, you're looking at it wrong. Get rid of that assumption. There's no need to store anything. If you want energy, go into that. If you've done the Hool breath, then in order to get that energy to go out, you have to reduce your breathing to such a slow state that when you're exhaling, you have to have energy coming out the nose and the mouth at the same time. The only way that can happen is if your breath is reduced and slowed way, way, way down. When you do that correctly, your third eye opens automatically and you'll feel yourself go into a trance, and you end up in this state of nothingness. You can feel it. That state of emptiness that you have when both the nose and the mouth are releasing breath without making any sound, and you feel your third eye kick open, you're now in contact with infinite amount of energy, and it's flowing through you. It's not being stored anywhere. Okay? Have I beat that horse to death? Adam, when you write the word question, you see above and below you, they've written it in all caps. Why do I do that? So I can see it. I want to see your question. It's for your benefit that I'm such a pain in the ass and I tell you to always write it in all caps. Please pay attention, not only to make me happy, but so that I can help you by seeing your question. Adam says, do shamanic journeys for hire? What is a shamanic journey for hire? I mean, you're paying somebody else to do a shamanic journey for you? You say, do shamanic journeys for hire to remove any type of reptilian implant, for example, overlays? Can you permanently remove it? How do you do such, and what is the methodology of removal? So Adam, welcome to my channel. You're obviously brand new to my channel because you have all kinds of assumptions that I believe any of what you just said. So there are reptilians. Get ready. You want to know who they are? Go look in the mirror. You're a reptilian. This whole nonsense that there are reptilians out there and reptilian implants, and that's all nonsense. That's all a projection of your internalized fear. There are reptilians in the world. They're called human beings because we all have a reptilian brainstem. And the people who act like sociopathic, baby-killing, murderous people that do exist, I would call those people reptilian also, but not because they're some kind of reptilian hybrid. It's simply because they're completely operating from their fear-based reptilian brainstem. They're not operating from any of the upper awarenesses or even the majority of their brain. They're just completely focused on the fight or flight, money, wealth, corruption, and they're sociopaths. So everything you just said, forgive me for saying so, is complete nonsense. This is why, again, I tell people, if you come onto the channel, the best thing to do is to ask me a question based on what I teach. You obviously haven't watched any of my videos because I've got no shortage of videos talking about what reptilians really are and that they're not what you just said. So the other question is, you're going to go pay a shaman to go do an exorcism for you, basically. So again, you can go watch my videos about how what a real exorcism is. And so first off, I can promise you, you don't have any reptilian implant. I guarantee you, you don't. You may feel that you do, but that is your own fear-based victim mentality that you are psychosomaticizing. If you feel like you have it, if you have, whatever. There's something going on that I'm not aware of, some childhood unresolved issues, something going on. But I guarantee you, you have not been implanted with anything unless it's been by a human being and they've stuck it in your arm. Then maybe. But anything else, I guarantee you it hasn't happened. And so I'm here to tell you, don't go pay somebody to do some shamanic journey to remove some implant. You'll just be wasting your money. You won't be accomplishing anything because it doesn't exist that way. I welcome you to the channel, and I welcome you to spend more time on my channel and watch more of my videos. But more importantly, do the practices, do the free stuff. So let's just say, for example, you have been implanted. Even if I believe that what I would tell you to do is what I've already told people to do, go do the Huul breath. Huul breath. Go type that in on YouTube. Go do that. Anything that will get rid of any negative energy that's come into your aura from any place, even if there is such a thing as reptilian implants. That practice will completely clear your aura of all of it. So don't waste your time or your money. And please, I hope you'll stay on the channel so you can get rid of this ridiculous nonsense that you've been told, and that you can get rid of your victim mentality and realize that you are the most powerful being in the universe. Even if there were reptilians out there, they are less powerful than you unless you give them power. All right, what else? Anthem Animist. Question: where can I purchase the level 2 Celestial Qigong and Thunder Qigong? And those things may be gone forever. But I teach those things here. So, and that was my plan all along, was I was going to take all of that stuff from all of those various DVDs and I was going to put them here. So I do recommend people get Celestial Qigong level 1, and then I recommend that you go here. So that stuff might be gone forever. I didn't bother to keep all those DVDs and then transfer them over to video. I didn't do that. But I have brought it over to here. Let's see what else. Question: Animist does not have... Okay, yeah. I answered that. Flux Pavilion. Honest feeling. I have done the Heaven Earth Qigong many times now and have felt great power. Are the practices in your 90-day warrior challenge more powerful? Instead of asking me, why don't you just go do it? What have you got to lose? Think about it. It's going to cost you the same amount of money as going to Starbucks and getting a coffee every day. It's incredibly inexpensive, and you can unsubscribe whenever you want. You got nothing to lose. So, I mean, you're asking me to tell you to go ahead and do it. You're wanting me to say, absolutely it's more powerful, which it is. But instead of trying, I mean, I've done it for a reason. I mean, I've made this for a reason. obviously I think it's I'm taking people to a higher path. So give it a try. What have you got to lose? What else? Creative Virgo question. Mahadeva, may I share a quick story to verify your THC comment? I don't need you to. I appreciate the gesture, but I don't need you to. And again, that's not a question. Creative Virgo, how much education do you need to understand what an honest question is? An honest question is that you want to know the answer to something that you don't have the answer to, that you think I have the answer. What you're doing is you're asking me to give you permission to co-sign what I just said. And again, I appreciate it, but in this live back and forth, I don't need that. Remember, we've talked a lot about your codependence. It's kind of a codependent thing to do. I don't need you to do that. I don't want you to do that here. I don't need I don't need an assistant. I don't need a cheerleader. I really just want to deal with your questions about you and how I can help you improve. That's all I want to do here. All right, this is, I don't know how, there must be some bot that does this. I got to get rid of some spam, so let's get rid of that. Let's see, Magic Song, what just happened here? Magic Song question. Sensei. Well, I'm not a sensei because I don't teach any Japanese arts, but I appreciate the respect. Sensei, can the spirit fighting technique be combined with Galder? My suggestion is don't ask questions about stuff you haven't experienced yet. That's like, you haven't even learned how to make a souffle and you want to know, hey, is it possible for me to mix a souffle with my pancake batter? The chef is going to go, ugh. First, learn what that is. Then worry about that. I see you have some wonderful combinations of Qigong with runes. That's from where the question came. Yeah, okay, so. Any questions you have about something you haven't done, my recommendation is to go do it. It'll only benefit you. And then, when you've got a mastery of it, this is one of the things I've said earlier. My goal for this channel, I don't need to be the ultimate guru. I know you guys think I'm really controlling, and I know I can come across really controlling and really full of myself. But my honest goal is I want to empower people. I want you to be able to master these things so that when I'm gone or when you've reached a level of your own empowerment, you can go and create your own tradition and mix and match whatever it is that you want. But first, you have to learn from somebody and you have to learn it the way they teach and master that. Then you can go and take your mastery of that and do whatever you want with it. Let's see. Glees. Question. Dear Mahadeva, you've told the story of meeting your fiance. That was a long time ago. How can one tell if the soulmate feeling comes from the lower self or if it's the real deal? It's a really great question. The best thing I can tell you is this, is that even if you meet your soulmate, and it is truly your karmic connection, your soulmate in this lifetime, you will still, for the first 6 to 9 months, you will still be experiencing your own projection and counter projection. And this is why, there are relationships, you meet somebody and oh my God, they're the most amazing person. And oh, you drink water every day? So do I. Oh, you breathe every single second of every day? So do I. It's like if I don't breathe, I'm going to die. Oh my God, we're exactly the same. This is all projection, and that it has to be that way because if we didn't have that, nobody would ever get together. They wouldn't, the universe is created this way so that people will get together and have sex and have kids. But so to answer your question, it's going to take 6 or 9 months for you to begin to let go of your own selfish projection and start to see them for who they really are. And this is why between 6 and 9 months or a year, you see people will either break up and not get back together, or they break up for a little while and then they come back together and then they get married. Because it's showing that they're realizing that the projection isn't, the person isn't who they thought, that they have to really get to know the other person. And then if you get to love the other person for who they are and vice versa, then you'll know. But for the first 6 months to a year, you may not know. And it'll feel great and feel wonderful. And the only thing you can do is just keep doing it and enjoy it and just keep your eyes open. By a year, you'll know. How's that? What other questions do we have here? Mr. Huge Goob. Wow, what a great name. Question. Can I use the she energy to save other things that are near death? I've restarted my heart before. My past lower self saved me from the mirror side. So Huge Bob, bear in mind, I have no idea that you really know what you're talking about. I know that you think that when you hear me talk, you and I are talking about the same thing. I don't know that. This question that you're asking is coming across very codependent. Why you feel the need to take your own she, which is the lightning energy of the heart, why your first question is, can I go use that to save somebody else that's near death? I mean, is there somebody around you right now that's near death? If not, then this is just really self-deluded fantasy. That is not your job. What you just asked is incredibly codependent. Your job is not to go around and, use your power to raise people from the dead. Their life is their life. It's their karma. They are responsible, and they're perfectly capable of doing what they need to do to empower themselves. What you're creating in this question is you're going to be this superhero who goes around and that shows that you don't, forgive me for saying so, you don't truly understand what the whole point of spiritual practice is. There's just you and the universe. You die alone. You came into this world alone. You're going to leave it alone. Your job is to create your own self-awareness, your own enlightenment. By doing that, just by doing that, you raise the energy of everybody else around you. But this nonsense of you're going to go around with a big red S on your cape, fly around and use the she energy to raise people from the dead, that is completely your narcissistic ego, and it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about and what we're doing. So welcome to the channel. Forgive me if I burst your bubble or hurt your feelings, but my job is to tell you the truth. I don't know that any of that's true. You've restarted your heart before your past lower self, and I don't know if any of that is true. It sounds, I'm going to be honest with you, it sounds like you were lost in your own fantasies of, again, as I said in the beginning, the vast majority of people, as I said it in the beginning, if you haven't actually done the work that I teach, the vast majority of you that think you know what I'm talking about have no clue what I'm talking about because you haven't experienced it. And this is what I'm talking about. When you get these really huge, fantastical scenarios and it makes you sound like you're this amazing, I can tell that you're lost in your own unconscious, and in this case, very codependent fantasies that have no real spiritual value. Forgive me for saying so. So my invitation to you is welcome to the channel. Go do some of the practices that I teach, and then you'll have an idea of whether or not you can do any of that stuff, which of course I would never recommend anybody do. Let's see, what else? Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I'm frustrated that I'm not making any money from my YouTube channels and courses. I can understand that frustration. Yeah, Well, it's a feeling, so I guess you didn't ask a question. But I've had that feeling in the past, and I understand and appreciate that you've had that feeling. To understand, in case you're new to the channel, why do I only ask for two things, honest questions and honest feelings, is because this is what's going to teach you how to interact directly with the universe to become a spiritual master. The universe is constantly waiting to educate you, constantly waiting to give you and download into you practices and knowledge that no human has ever experienced yet. And the universe doesn't judge. It's not looking for the person who has the most followers. It's looking for somebody that is the most teachable. And so when you ask me questions, as you know, I will sometimes criticize you, and I'll say, that's not a question. The reason I'm doing that isn't to be a pain in the ass. It's because I want to educate you to know how to ask the universe questions. And this is one of the things that teachers are good for, because the teacher represents a symbol of your higher self. And so if I can teach you how to interact with me in a way that makes me, that stimulates me to want to give you answers and to help you, it's going to be a mirror of how you can get your higher self to teach you. So an honest question is, as I said, you don't have the answer. You want to know. And so you're going to ask me with an open mind. An example of something that's not a question would be, what I said earlier. Somebody has come to an awareness of something. So they have an opinion and they say, question. So Mahadeva, when thus and such happens, does it really mean X, Y, and Z? And when I hear that, I go, that's not a question. You've just now given me your opinion. And that's great. You came to that opinion. You're asking me to co-sign your opinion. And that's not a true question. Just one example. An honest feeling. An honest feeling is what Vincent just said. He said, I'm frustrated. That's an honest feeling. People will say, honest feeling. I really think that Jesus is the Lord of the earth. And I'll say, that's not a feeling, that's an opinion. If you start thrusting your opinions out at the universe is going to go, well, then what do you want from me? But if you have an honest question that comes from real humility and a deep desire to learn and to grow, and you ask the universe, teach me about this, the universe will teach you about that. You may not be in the way that you want, in the timing that you want. In fact, it may give you an answer that disappoints the crap out of you. But if you learn how to do that and you ask the right question, especially at the right time, this is where the Hool breath came from. I didn't make it up. It was downloaded into me. You'll learn how to ask the universe, and the universe will download into you knowledge, teaching, awareness, practices that have never yet been experienced by humans. And I'm teaching you how to do that, if you want. Glees, let's see. Okay, so then there's drjweird.thunderwizard.com. So he is one of my certified rune readers. You can go to his website, which is drjwyrd.thunderwizard.com. Okay, here's another spam. I got to get rid of that. There must be bots that just drop these spams in here. It's really annoying. Let's see, what else? Anything else? I think we've come to the end of the questions. Yep, looks like we've come to the end of the questions. Okay, so if there's no more questions, then there we are. So again, I hope you guys are all doing well. I would recommend going to, if you haven't already gotten COVID and recovered. If you have, good for you. According to the CDC, you are as protected as you can possibly get. If you haven't had COVID yet and you want to know how to protect yourself, I recommend going to COVID19criticalcare.com. That's COVID, the number's 19, and then criticalcare.com, and click around on that website and you'll see all of the supplements and all of the things that you can take to keep your body at its best defense, so that if you do get COVID, you can hopefully heal yourself from it. Let's see. Chan's the Nematon Shriner just threw out the word question and nothing else, so I have to wait. For his question. Are you writing the question out? Is that why I don't see it? Is that what's going on here, Chans? How much longer should I? Here it comes. Question. When doing the butterfly hands set, in case you don't know what we're talking about, I think I mentioned it here. You can go to Warrior 90-Day Challenge, Lightning Qigong, subscribe, and there's one of the most powerful practices I've ever experienced, which is called the butterfly hands. And you can go check that out. I think I have 2 levels of it now. Is that right? There's more to come for those that are doing this. He says, question, when doing the butterfly hands set, is there a specific way to breathe with each move? No. Just let your breathing be natural. Just focus on the practice. In fact, don't even worry about your breathing. It's not like some Qigong practices where you're inhaling and it's not like that. You're just doing the work and letting your breath do its own thing. However, here's something you can do. After you've done the butterfly hands for a while and you can feel your body buzzing, sit down and then inhale really deeply. Hold it. Your head, it'll feel like your head's about to pop off. You know, you might even pass out. It's okay if you don't. But that's a good way, because you've created and you've brought in a lot of energy into your aura, and this is a way to bring that in and get that energy into all of your meridians, and it just feels great. I do it, I love doing that. I love practicing the spirit fighting to the point where I'm loopy, and then I sit down and I breathe very deeply, and it just, there's just no high that comes even close to it. I've never experienced anything like it. Marion Eisenberg, question, does the Hool breath strengthen your immune system? Yes. drjweird.thunderwizard.com, honest question, would doing a semen retention practice alongside a Qigong practice increase the power gain from the Qigong? Well, so Dr. J. Weird, I don't recommend that. I've done that. I've done these things. I was celibate for 6.5 years. So I have experience with that. And my experience is that if you're doing the lightning Qigong, you don't need to do any... In fact, semen retention is a really unhealthy, unnatural thing to do. I don't care what people say. There are a few techniques. So if somebody came to me and they wanted to be a spirit fighting master, I might, if I saw that they had an ability and they weren't married and they didn't have a girlfriend and they didn't have a job and they could just meditate all day, I would teach you some techniques that you can use, physical techniques, to change the flow of energy so that it goes up your spine. As long as you're doing that in connection with doing the advanced spirit fighting, that would be the only scenario that I would even consider teaching somebody some semen retention. So I'm pretty sure you're not doing that. I know I'm not teaching that to you. So Dr. J. Weird, I don't recommend that you do any semen retention practice. Having said that, if you want to have more of a, if you want to have more of a celibate lifestyle and you want to kind of move away from sexual stimulation, there's nothing wrong with that. But look, that fluid is building up inside of you. That energy is building up inside of you. And if you don't release it, it's going to cause you damage. It's going to heat things up. It's It's going to drive you crazy. It will not help you. So I know it's a really popular thing out there, but my experience is that the people who are teaching this it's coming from other issues. Like for instance, there's a big movement, an anti-porn movement, which I support. Because there's a lot of people, especially if they're born, in the last 25, 30 years, that they do not have a normal understanding and relationship with sex. That, kids now are looking at porn, they're 5 years old and they're looking at porn on their computer. And it is completely fucking up their ability to understand what sex is about and sex and relationships. And there's tons of people out there. I'm not saying you, because I don't know anything about you, Dr. J. Weird, but there are tons of people out there who have grown up on hardcore porn, and there are people like they won't be able to be physically with somebody. They'll have to go home and they'll have to, do a porn chat or something like that, and they think that they're having sex. There are people that can't have sex with somebody else without objectifying the other person. They don't know how to interact emotionally. And so there's a bunch of people who are staying away from porn, and it is really healing them. And I fully support that. So that's different, though. Then you still, I think it's necessary, without using porn, at some point, you have to release the tension. You have to release those fluids, especially if you're a male. I don't think it's the same for women, but if you're a male, you have to release those fluids, or they're going to build up inside of you, and they become toxic. And, a lot of people, when they release, self-stimulate and release, they feel all kinds of guilt. And they feel like they've lost their energy. And that feeling of I've lost my energy is all psychosomatic nonsense. That feeling that when they feel bad, they feel like they've lost their energy, that is not coming from anything that's happening physically or spiritually. That is purely psychological, and it has to do with their screwed up understanding about sex, which can be healed. One of the ways to do that is to just not watch any porn, and then interact with women in a real life setting, and let the things happen naturally. When I was a kid, we had magazines. That was it. I had to go into my dad's closet and find a Playboy or something, and that was the best I got. So that didn't have anywhere near the same effect on my psyche as a 5-year-old watching hardcore porn. It's very destructive. And so there's a whole generation of kids, 20-year-old kids, both men and women, that are just totally screwed up when it comes to sex and relationships. So back to your question, which wasn't that at all. You were just asking if it would empower you. If you're doing the celestial Qigong or the lightning Qigong, you don't need to do that. It won't benefit you. I recommend people be natural. Let their body do its natural thing. When you need to pee. When you need to take a dump, take a dump. When you need to release. Just be a normal human. All right, so I've beaten that horse to death, so to speak. Forgive the pun. Casey Jones, honest feeling. This feels like home. Well, I'm glad. That's an awesome way to feel. I don't see any other questions here, any other thoughts or feelings. So I'm happy to leave it at that. So it is my intention to continue to expand more on this Maoshan practice. And so, as I said, you can go online. Let me find, before we get off, let me find the video I did a while ago, not too long ago, that gave you free practices. So you can go on and get whole routines for free from me that you don't have to pay anything for, that will give you access to the energy that I'm talking about. And if you like that energy and you want more of it, then you'll you'll know where to go. You can go to thunderwizard.com, and or you can go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com and start doing the higher level stuff. So let me just see if I can find it here. Was it a live? I think it was a live practice. And it was something about the most powerful something or other. Hopefully it'll be easy for me to find here. Just give me a second. Is that it? That doesn't. I don't think that was it. Should be coming up here pretty soon. Just hang on. Come on, where are you? Come on. If somebody knows the link, you can go ahead and put it up there. There it is. Free. The most powerful energy practice on YouTube, guaranteed. I still guarantee that. This is a free practice. You can go ahead and do it. If you don't want to sign up or you're not ready to sign up for any of the paid stuff, here you go. Right there. There's the link. The most powerful energy practice on YouTube. Okay, there you go. Don't say I never did nothing for you. All right, there you go. Let's see. There's another question that came up. Capri Scorpio question. Months ago, coming out of a dream state, a door opened up revealing darkness inside. It beckons. I feel fear. Is it safe to cross that threshold holding fear, or must it be conquered first? I have no idea. How would you conquer it? Look, listen, it's just a dream. So as I said in the very beginning, a lot of you are going to listen to me and you think you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say I talk about what you just described as a dream, nothing more. Doesn't mean it isn't powerful. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a whole entire dimension filled with power and beings, but you're talking about your unconscious. So what that door is, it's a door to your own unconscious. And yes, you should go in it. And it doesn't matter what you see. What you see on the other side of that door is just your own unconscious, whether it's frightening, whether it's amazing, whether it's strange, it doesn't matter. So your fear, you don't have to worry about it. You can be as afraid as you want. Your fear, there's nothing that you can experience in your own unconscious mind that can harm you. It might be frightening to you. There might be some unresolved, painful, maybe very painful childhood stuff, but there's nothing in your unconscious that's going to hurt you. What else? You say fear of childhood darkness. Yeah, so this is just your own unresolved stuff, and absolutely, you should just walk through that door and see what's there. When you get there, let's say, just for example, if you crossed through that threshold and there was some evil, horrible monster there, here's what you do. You ask the monster, you say, what do you represent to my unconscious? And it'll tell you. And, you can transform that. That evil, horrible monster, you can transform that into something powerful and helpful for you. This is one of the great things of traveling to the unconscious realm. So you can do these kinds of things. All right, nothing else? Okay, so we're done. All right, guys, that's it. I wish you guys all the best. Thanks for showing up. I will see you guys when I see you. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. And that's it. All right, guys, take care.